Welcome back to Shift Happens. I'm Blair Hicken, and this is the show where leaders share real stories about how their business is evolving across systems, processes, and the growing impact of automation and AI. Today, I'm joined by Dave Marsh. Dave brings a broad spectrum from his experience across a variety of industries, and I'm really looking forward to exploring to see how your business has expanded and some of the things that are driving automation and new innovations across your business line. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Blair.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you've been focused on your role today?
Sure. So I've been in industry for about 30 years. My background is I'm a professional engineer by training, and I've spent my career going back and forth between automotive manufacturing, engineering, project management, and construction project management. A variety of different automotive tier one suppliers and some large Canadian construction companies here in Ontario, and some experience internationally as well.
And what are some of the challenges that you in your current role and then the business in general are seeing today that is causing you to rethink how business has been done traditionally?
So I think one of the biggest challenges that we focus on and we face with our current clients is that we're in the industrial service business at Team Group. And that is basically the business of taking care of your clients, finding solutions to what their needs are, and helping them focus on their primary process or product. And as such, we operate in numerous different client facilities, and we're faced with different environments and different scopes at all the locations. And one of the things that we find challenging is managing data. We have a lot of traditional type data management, where I'm going to call that the glorified spreadsheet. We subscribe to a couple software as a service type products for payroll and finance. And then we run our front end off of Google Workspace. So that gives us a very virtualized environment that's very flexible, very quickly to stand up a new operation or shut down one or restore one if there's an issue. But all of that leads to challenges with data and what I'm going to call liberating your data so you can use it. We've got a lot of little legacy tools where somebody built one product and the data is stored here, or the data is stored there, or in many cases, the data is stored in a customer system. So, for example, it might be the client's work order management system that we need to interface with, manipulate, plan our work. The client wants visibility, but the client tool that they subscribe to is locked down. And the only way to interface with it is either download a CSV or spend time typing. And those are the kind of types of challenges that hold us back, because when you want to make good decisions or plan work, you want to be able to expose and liberate your data, manipulate it, understand it, analyze it, make decisions based on it, get your results back, and then update your client. And most of those cycles are happening manually within our company with human interfaces between systems. And those are challenges that we're working on evolving and improving internal.
So is this, is the customer evolving in presenting you with different use cases to get to that data, or is it both a combination of the customer asking more data intense or more data evaluative questions and your own team just knowing that they need to get access to that? Is it an evolution of people being overwhelmed with data, I guess?
It's a couple of those things. It's more internally driven from, I'm just going to call it market competitiveness.
Okay.
If you are constantly doing things the same way with your data, doing a lot of manual processing, running pivot tables and creating filters to answer questions every day, you're not creating value. You're just going through the motions to come up with something. And I think many employees fall into the trap, and I can be part of that, is you spend so much time getting your data to the point where you can actually work with it that you're done looking at it. So I just want to be done now. I spent the last 40 minutes organizing this, lining up tables, sanitizing the data, getting it to a position where I can order it. And oh, great, that's a beautiful pivot table. It's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move on to the next task now. It's about being more competitive, more efficient with your people. What I'll say is getting the data, I want the data in the position that the person who has the skills to make the right decision can just act on it. I don't want my highly skilled person being a data analyst and manipulating data. I want, ideally, I want the magic box to do that.
Right.
I don't want a person to do that. I want a magic box to do it. And I want to get the right information in front of the right people so that they can be efficient and make us more competitive.
Yeah, I think you're right. Both data manipulation and data analysis fatigue, hits us all. After you've been staring at the same numbers for a while, you may finally get it into what is an organized process, but now you're just so done with looking at it in 5 different ways, 25 different ways, that you're kind of want to move on. So I agree that that black box, if we can get there to get you even to that initial stage of highlighting the top 3 points out of that data set and then letting the ever questioning human mind sort of take it from there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And so, where do you think leaders are getting most stuck with this? Like, that is sort of the consumer, maybe the data analyst or the business lead. Where do you think leaders of businesses are being challenged with this type of next level analyses?
Well, I think it's happening at all levels of the business. And I think a proper leader recognizes that challenge and needs to be open to ways to embrace it and improve it. Being open minded about how you want to manage your data and being willing to make change. Perhaps a good example is the stereotypical finance department, which always wants to run their data and this way, this way, this way. Close the month 300 times this way. This next month will be the 301st time. So
Right.
no changes.
Yeah.
Um, Meanwhile, you might have an operations manager in the field saying, "But I really need to see my data this way, so that'll help me make better decisions." So you need to recognize that change needs to happen to expose your data to make better decisions.
Yeah. I think companies get have a potential to get stuck, um, you know, by not understanding the different tiers of data and that each tier has a different set of questions. And so trying to drive one analysis stream and thinking it's going to answer the various tiers of a business question. I think being flexible enough to understand you take that same data, massive data, but you now need to apply different rules and different criteria to it to surface important information, valuable information to the different levels.
One of the reluctance to change comes with the need to validate your data.
Right.
Anybody who's made a spreadsheet and confidently declared that that's the right answer, only to find out that the cell was pointing to the wrong location, knows the importance of validating data and systems. And when you look at data in a new way and reach new conclusions, is that an epiphany or is that a mistake?
Yeah.
And so when you're going through that, the validation of the data to reach the right conclusions as you implement new tools and look at things a different ways is a big challenge. So I think in our current business, we don't have a lot of challenges with accessing the right data set or
Okay.
understanding that what is it I'm looking at and is it the right thing? We're looking at data sets which are fairly uh, understandable in terms of wrapping your arms around them. These are the operating costs for a particular division. These are the consumable consumption rates. This is the energy consumption. These are things that are, you know, understandable. They're not large data sets that you wouldn't understand what they are until analysis starts to happen. So I think we benefit at least from a standpoint of we start with data that's fairly simplistic, and our challenges are they're not portable or they're not cross-referenced or they're not linked. You know,
Yeah.
somebody might be counting how many bins they're using over here, but the cost is over there, and somebody else was doing it differently 6 months ago. And so trying to bring those sorts of tools together. A good example of trying to bring data together is at one of our large customers, we have a work order system. And one set of work order system comes out of the maintenance planning system. And another set of work orders comes from what I'll call more customer focused, where the customer can say, I have a problem with this. So they're not part of the maintenance system. They're just, I know it's broken. I need help. It needs to be fixed. And so we end up with, I'm going to call very structured data coming in. So it's saying, hey, this asset at this location has this need, this deficiency, and we can discreetly plan the work. the corollary to that is somebody picked up the phone, called the call center in another jurisdiction, describing what their problem is, and it comes in as a problem.
Okay.
They both could be, it's too cold in this room because the heating ventilation unit needs attention. One of them just says it's cold near column A1. The
Right.
other one says this HVAC unit located on the roof is exhibiting this fault code. One's very actionable, one is not. They both need to be addressed in a timely manner. And so some of our employees have been working, and one individual looked at this giant problem because we're talking about thousands of work orders a month across about 14 million square feet, and trying to get efficient so that you don't send the trade two different trades on two different days to go look at this one thing that turns out to be the same thing.
Right.
So you can understand what that level of efficiency starts to add cost, right? So they've been building a tool that is learning how to read work tickets and figure out where they are and start cross-referencing them and coming back with consolidated routes to go out and do our maintenance checks and our troubleshooting and problems. And it's taking two giant different data sets, analyzing it, and figuring out, doing one of these where they start to match and line up and say, okay, great. Today you're going to send the HVAC technician to building B on the second floor, and here are the 7 things that need doing there,
Okay.
as opposed to one person reading thousands of lines of work orders and
Yeah.
figuring out, okay, oh, there's one, there's another one, and starting making paper piles or
Yeah.
flagging stuff. So it's an exciting use of tools that are unlocking efficiency by just taking the data that we have and becoming more efficient.
And so are you, directing your team to use specific tools and go down this, or is this something that they're sort of, from the grassroots, they're finding new ways to interpret the voluminous data sets that are coming?
So it's a little A and B. We're taking a very I don't know if grassroots is the right word, but an enabled approach. Right?
Okay.
If you think you know how to solve this problem, tell me how you think you want to solve it. And like, yeah, I want to enable you to be successful and get rid of your roadblocks. So um, we're a Google Workspace company, so we've got a very flexible platform. We've got access to all of Google's AI tools. We use a couple exterior ones in some particular cases. And the employees are basically, hey, here's the toolbox, right?
Right.
Go learn, go explore. I worked at a company a couple of years ago, and they had a very open mentality to problem solving. It's like, what are we going to do today? We're going to solve that problem. What matters? Nope. What matters is solving that problem. We're going to figure it out and we're going to do it. And it was exciting and it was energetic, and no 2 days were the same. But the employees there were empowered. And it was just, I'm going to run this project. I'm going to do this. I'm going to fix this problem. And it was a strong teamwork environment. It was very productive. There was a lot of innovation. And I like to bring that with me, where I recognize when you say no, you have to be very careful with that, because it can shut people down. It can close down creativity. There's times when you do need to say no. It's like, hey guys, this is a higher priority. We need to solve this problem first, and then we can go solve that funner problem. But
Right.
right now, this is the one that's killing us. If we don't solve this one, you don't have to worry about solving the other one, and that's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. And so how are you finding these not quite grassroots, but initiative ridden innovations on how to do this analysis? How are you finding, is it contagious? Is it spreading across the team?
Is it spreading? Is it contagious? Awareness is growing, and people who feel that they can tackle it are starting to tackle it. And a lot of it depends on your role in the company in terms of what you've got to face on a daily basis and how much discretionary time you have in terms of your work assignments. But a great example is we needed an inventory system to address a specific customer need. We put a talented person in the role and said, we have a project here. This area needs to be sorted out, inventoried. In industry, there's a term called S, where you go through the different S's to organize and sanitize and sustain and set in place, and basically establish what the standards are in your min maxes and get everything sorted out. And there were thousands and thousands of parts in this inventory, and it had been run by a retired person. And the entire inventory system was up here. And the first two attempts to get it out of there and
Yeah.
into a system failed. But We put this person on the project, a talented individual, not a programmer. This person has a maintenance background.
Yeah.
They are a certified weld inspector and a millwright, taking engineering courses in their free time. Not the type of person you would expect to start vibe coding, but this person over the course of 2 months stood up a complete inventory system with images and checkout carts, reporting for the customer, and no instructions, just figure something out.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, hey boss, look what I got. This is what I think I'm going to do. I got something to show you. I'm really excited about. 2 weeks later, now we're rolling that out. Or sorry, 2 months later, now that's up and running, and we're rolling it out to other cribs. It got big enough that's like, right, hey, I need you to talk to the IT guys to make sure the data is
Right.
being stored and structured properly in the right spot. Went through that, then added the securities and the permissions to that with their assistants, and now we got a fully functioning product which we can control the deployment of. We can make changes to. I was thinking about this and the quality of the project. It would make me, if I was a SaaS supplier, I'd be looking around a little bit and deciding where's my real true value and niche, because it's that classic question of do I roll my own or do I go out for it? I don't think I need to go into the pitfalls of either one of those, but the ability to stand up an application and get it running and get it sustained, and even with documentation, because you can use your AI tools to generate the documentation.
Right.
We use some of the plugins in Google Workspace to do training videos now. So you can generate your slideshows, your videos, your narration, and it will just pull it all together. You get your dictation, you get your live screenshots, and we were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for training videos that were professionally produced,
Right.
and all gone in-house now.
That's great. Yeah. And so how do you share that? That's a great story, but now how do you share that success across, your other team members? Um, do you have an internal, sort of show and tell of what is available and what is possible?
In fact, we do.
Yeah.
So the company has two monthly standing meetings. We have a mid-level management meeting and a senior level management meeting, and they're provided as a basically a world news type approach where all of the middle level management come together. They give a quick little synopsis of what's going on in their business units, and then we'll also look at what are the best practices, what are some successes, what are wins, are there any lessons learned that
Right.
would benefit the other divisions and operations of the company. And we spend time each month listening to one another about what's working, what's not working, and also to roll out new tools and systems. Like, hey, we're making changes to the purchasing system. Everybody needs to be aware of it. You complained about this problem. Here's our fix. So provide feedback to the people, stay connected, as well as some information sharing.
That's great. And so what was the overall feedback when you sort of presented this new inventory opportunity, I guess, or solution for the client?
Interest is good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share something with it. When I
Yeah.
showed the client for the first time, the client was interested in it, appreciated it.
Great.
It's very visual because when we got going with it, some of the feedback was, I said, all of our technicians know how to shop on Amazon.
Right.
If you make it shop on Amazon, well, I won't need to train a single person.
Right.
Type in a few letters, it searches, pictures come up. I click on the pictures. How many do I want?
Right.
Create a shopping cart list, and the shopping cart list tells me where they are in the physical crib. I can
Right.
go pick it and check them out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, why design anything that your users don't already know how to use, right?
That's right. And so during that process, was there anything that either you sort of was implemented or drafted and it wasn't a success that you thought, as much as it could be that you needed to back things back? Or has it been pretty much a successful, you know, engineering and then deployment?
I think from an engineering and deployment standpoint, that's going well.
Great.
Now it's a case of, okay, now I'm into change management. I have to
Yeah,
teach new habits.
right,
No, you don't go in there and just take the fuse and write it down on a piece of paper anymore. I need you to go to the computer. You don't have to
right,
log in. You just click, type the fuse, type what you want. It'll tell you where it is. You need to say what work order you're using it on. Click checkout, grab your part, and go.
that's great. Yeah,
But yeah, now we're into the human factor. I think we've streamlined a lot of things that were rub points, and now it's just a case of habit, managing change with people, education, and then expanding it to new locations.
great. Well, based on that success and that particular, client engagement, how do you envision reproducing that for new solutions, new alternatives? It may not be part of inventory, may be something else. How
Hmm?
do you keep that inspiration or that, desire to try something new when a client's posing a question across your team?
So I like to lead by asking questions. I want my people to hear their own questions answered and right lead them to a conclusion.
Right,
So if there's a problem solving, maybe this sounds like a cop out, but the first thing out of it is, well, what do you think we should do? Right? Rather than say, well, this is what we're going to do, it's
right,
okay, what do you think we should do? What are the factors here? And what are possible solutions? Get them thinking about what it is that's out there. I said, well, okay. And then you can start asking guiding questions, such as, well, what do you think if we did this?
right.
Hey, over there we solved this problem this way. Do you think there's things that we could apply? Because we can bring that person over here and ask them questions and learn about what they did and see if there's anything applicable and transfer knowledge. So I try to ask questions and connect resources and then enable people in the company to go ask questions of their own and build and create where possible.
That's great. What would you do differently? And you've had this success, it's gone through some iterations, and now you're rolling it out. And you realize, the change management, the people, the next evolution. Would you do anything differently to, bring you to the stage you're at now sooner?
Honestly, looking at the quality of the output, what I would do differently would I would probably lean into it harder,
Oh, yeah?
right? Like
Great.
honestly, I was very impressed with what came out. It was an eye-opening experience for me in terms of what can be achieved
Yeah,
with I use the term vibe coding.
right.
Not a coding person, right? And I know so I don't want to be just throwing terms around. I would lean into it harder and say, hey, this can be done, and it's not that hard. This person figured it out. Go
Yeah,
talk to see if there's something you can learn from it. For the person who's got the right aptitude and the interest in it, we've got certain people in the company who are very keen on it and lean into it, and their roles are kind of morphing into, okay, I solved this problem. What's next? What can I
right.
solve next?
Yeah, that's great.
So feeding those people is good. So even if it's a case of I've got a person with a problem, be like, hey, have you talked to so and so?
Yeah,
No, I haven't. You should talk to that person and see what they say. Oh, okay, I'll go do that. Right. And
right.
start, enable good conversations and
Yeah,
see where things go.
yeah,
I am there. I have the reservation of, the fact that we have people building tools who heretofore would be not qualified to build tools. And just because you built a tool doesn't mean you're actually qualified to build one.
right.
So what's under the hood gives
Yeah,
me pause. But at this point, I'm in a trust but verify mode. So
yeah,
I will ask questions like, well, is it documented? Do
right,
you know how it works? How would you hand this off?
right.
Does IT know you're doing this? Right.
Yeah, very
So
good.
once the idea has gestated a little bit, right, and grown,
Right.
and it starts to like, okay, this is going to go somewhere. Okay, let's just before we get too far, let's get a couple little hooks in here and lay down some ground rules because otherwise I could have a giant ball of spaghetti and nobody really knows what it does and it works for now, but
Right.
one day it's going to stop
Yeah.
and then it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
So
Great. So, what three things do you think are driving the biggest impact for you and your team and or you and your clients?
I think that the thing that is helping a lot is liberating our data, right?
Yeah.
We we have data in databases in different spots and getting it pulled together so you don't have to work to make a decision. You can work on making the decision.
Okay.
So a great example is part of our quality system has got, we've got all these processes and checks to measure our safety, our quality, our delivery, our cost, our people. And that's anything from training to how we're doing on our internal scorecard KPIs, how we're doing on internal goals and objectives. Are we meeting our schedules for client delivery? And a couple years ago, that was all manually tracked.
Mm.
The quality department would come into a site and audit it and say, "Oh, you're not doing this, but you're doing this, but your
Right.
score's really low on this. Do you even know you're supposed to be doing this?" And so, over the course of the last year, we transitioned to at least compiling all of that into a, you know, a Google sheet to start with,
Right.
right? And then they said, okay, well, just give me a score. Give me a
Yeah.
score that I can measure myself against. So now I got a bunch of numbers and a number out the end. So I can say to my team, at the different sites, your score is 75. I want you to get to 80.
Yeah.
How you get there, that's up to you. Go look at your data, right? Oh, I'm low on delivery, or I had a safety incident last month. I need to address that,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm spending too much. So whatever knob that needs, I would be wasting my time to tell my managers exactly how to run their business, because if that's the case, why do I have them, right?
Right.
So I hire good people to run the business.
Right.
They know how to run their business. So give them an objective and let them work on strategies. You want to brainstorm the strategies? Great. I'm going to tell you what to do. Probably not the best person to do it. You know your business better than I am, right?
Right.
So we took that from just a spreadsheet to now there's a unified dashboard using used to be called Looker Studio. I think Google calls it now Data Studio. So we're
Okay.
building internal visualizers that work. The software team in the back is figuring out ways to link all of our disparate data. Okay, well, this application tracks delivery. This application tracks cost. They've never talked before, but now the dashboard pulls it together. And
Yep.
if I'm a site manager, I can pull up my site score. If I'm a director, I can pull up my portfolio. And as the VP, I can see my division and say, right, okay, here's the score overall. Why is it where it is? I can start drilling down. I can, it's
Right.
here, it's here, it's here. And then now I can ask good questions, and because the data is presented. And that's all a result of the teams liberating the data, exposing it, so that now we can make decisions.
That's great. So to wrap up today, if you could provide some guidance for a leader or an organization, what should they be focusing on the next 6 to 12 months with all the opportunities around whether AI, automation, a vibe coding, where do you feel that people should be investing time, whether just understanding what it can do or what it should be doing, and then truly making an impact on their organization. What are your thoughts?
So I want to be careful about offering generalities, but there is something there in the ability for our people to make change and solve problems that in ways that have never been available,
Yeah.
in terms of creating workflows and automations and finding efficiencies. There's massive opportunity to unlock if you're not already running in some unified, beautiful system that just tailors exactly to your business, right? If you're there, great. I'd like to know about that.
Yeah.
I don't think many people are, because each customer is unique. Each customer wants something different, and you're constantly trying to be adaptive and change. I think as a leader, you need to be aware of that, and you need to be enabling it. So maybe that means some tough conversations with your IT team to say, hey, this has got to happen, right? You've got to figure out a way to make it happen to meet all your security requirements. But you've got to be enabling your employees and making sure that they're aware of what's out there, because if they're interested, they'll find it, right? And if
Right.
they're interested in it and you don't let them do it at your work, they may find another way to do it at somebody else's work,
That's right.
right? So it's about tapping into your employee talent, giving them all the tools that they can have access to do great things,
Yeah.
because there's a lot that can be done with whole new skill sets, and you don't have to have a strong coding background to solve problems. It's the first tool I've ever seen that actually tells you how to use it. You can start by saying, what can you do? I want to. How would I do this?
Right.
And it starts answering your questions, and you can build on it from there.
That's great. Being able to build out prototypes and then rolling those out into production is just a new evolution of where we are today.
And the cost is plummeting, right? If you wanted to put an app on a phone, you'd be paying server costs and this, that, and the other thing. In the Google Workspace with AppScript, there's all sorts of things you can do to stand up things fast, really fast. And fast means inexpensive.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Dave, for sharing all of that, real life stories and how you and your team are, adding that value back to your clients. It's been a really great chat with you today.
I enjoyed it, Blair. Thank you.